Unanimous consent request.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask unanimous consent that the following articles be placed in the record. The first is an article entitled Exclusive Trump Loyalist Matthew Whitaker was counseling the White House on investigating Clinton. The second article, Sessions replacement. Matthew Whitaker called Mueller's appointment ridiculous and a little fishy. Third article, all the time Robert Mueller's new boss railed against the Russia probe. Trump's pick to replace Jeff Sessions once said Mueller investigation risked becoming a witch hunt. And finally, an article entitled Trump's new acting attorney general once mused about defending Robert Mueller.
Without objection, these documents will be placed in the record. I now recognize the gentleman for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Whitaker, I'm going to be really straight with you up front. I'm going to cut you off if you make long speeches. We have very limited time. You do not need to thank me for asking the question or compliment me that it's a good one. I'll assume they're all good questions and you're grateful. One, you were briefed by the special counsel. You've acknowledged that. Did you share that information with any members of your staff, the information you learned in that briefing from the special counsel or his team?
Congressman, as I previously testified, there was one other individual in that briefing with.
And who is that individual?
It is the U.S. Attorney from the Eastern District of California who I've brought on.
What is the name of the individual, Mr. Whitaker?
His name is Greg Scott.
So that's the, did you communicate any information you learned in those briefings to other members of your staff?
I don't believe so, no.
Do you know whether any information that you learned in those briefings were communicated to anyone at the White House?
As I mentioned previously, Congressman, we have kept a very close.
Mr. Whitaker, it's a yes or a no. Do you know whether it was communicated to anybody at the White House?
As I sit here today, I don't know whether it was communicated.
Did you put into place any restrictions or limitations or instructions to your staff not to share this information with anyone at the White House or the president's legal team?
Yes, together with the general standard that investigative information and materials are need to know and law enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. Did the president lash out at you after Michael Cohen's guilty plea for lying to Congress about a Trump organization project to build a tower in Moscow?
The president specifically tweeted that he had not lashed out.
I'm asking you, Mr. Whitaker, did the president lash out at you? I'm not asking you what he tweeted. I don't have a lot of confidence in the veracity of his tweets. I'm asking you under oath.
Congressman, that is based on an unsubstantiated.
Sir, answer the question, yes or no. Did the president lash out to you about Mr. Cohen's guilty plea?
No, he did not.
And did anyone from the White House or anyone on the president's behalf lash out at you?
No.
Mr. Whitaker, did the president lash out to you on or about December 8th, 2018 to discuss a case before the Southern District in New York where he was identified as individual one?
No, Congressman.
Did anyone on the president's behalf, either inside the White House or outside the White House, contact you to lash out or express dissatisfaction?
Did they contact me to lash out?
Yes. Did they reach out to you in some way to express dissatisfaction?
No.
Okay. Did you share the questions that Mr. Nadler forwarded to you prior to this hearing with anyone at the White House or the president's legal counsel?
Congressman, I did not.
So when you claimed earlier that you were going to invoke a privilege, you were invoking a privilege about questions the president hasn't even seen.
Congressman, to be clear, I'm not invoking any privilege.
Well, you said earlier that you, in your written testimony, that you would not answer questions about your conversations with the president. Did you not?
Yes, I did.
So you are not sitting here today saying the president has instructed you not to answer a question, correct?
I am not sitting here today saying that the president has instructed.
So then you're prepared to answer all these questions?
Congressman, I think I was pretty explicit in my opening statement.
So have you spoken to the president, Mr. Whitaker, about the Mueller investigation?
Congressman, as I have previously testified, I did not talk to the president about the Mueller investigation.
Have you ever spoken to the president or parts of his legal team about information that you've learned in your capacity as acting attorney general related to the Mueller investigation or any other criminal investigation involving the president?
Congressman, while I have specifically been saying that I'm not going to comment about my conversations with the president or his senior staff. I have also been very clear that the president has not instructed me to do anything.
So that wasn't my question. My question is, have you had conversations about what you learned? That's a yes or a no.
Congressman, I spend all day, every day talking.
Mr. Whitaker, my question is very specific. Have you spoken to the president or his legal team about what you've learned in the Mueller investigation or with the related criminal investigations that may involve the president? Yes or no?
Congressman, as I specifically answered earlier to a question.
Mr. Whitaker, you're clearly not going to answer the question, so I'm going to move on. You know Professor John Barrett, correct? Well, anyway, this is a law school professor who tweeted that you told him in June of 2017 that you were flying out from Iowa to New York City to be on CNN regularly because you were hoping to be noticed as a Trump defender and through that to get a Trump judicial appointment back in Iowa. You then went on to describe the Mueller appointment of the special counsel as ridiculous and a little fishy, that Mueller investigating Trump's finances would be going too far, that there is no criminal obstruction of justice charge to be had against President Trump, that there was no collusion with the Russians and the Trump campaign, that any candidate would have taken the same meaning as Donald Trump Jr. with a Russian lawyer, and finally that a replacement for Sessions could reduce Mueller's budget so low that his investigation grinds to almost a halt. You said all those things, and they're all in print, and it answers Mr. Deutsch's question. The American people wonder, just how is it that Mr. Whitaker becomes the acting Attorney General of the United States in violation of existing statutes? Was he put there for a particular purpose? That wasn't a question, it's a statement. I yield back.
I've observed that. The time of the gentleman has expired.